My name's Brian Fitzgerald. For many years I was a professor of law and head of school at QUT, Queensland University of Technology, a leading university here in Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. In my capacity as a professor of law, I travelled to India and Nepal in 2003. First to India, to Delhi, to attend what was called a Law Asia conference, a meeting of many lawyers from across the region, and then on to Nepal with the delegation, the president of Law Asia, then an Australian lawyer, and one of my PhD students. That's how I ended up in Kathmandu in 2003. Look, unfortunately, it was a very short visit. My memory's a bit patchy about all this, but I'm pretty sure it was February 2003, so that's your winter. Yes. And I don't remember being extremely cold, but I had a really pleasant time. But it was 2 or 3 nights I stayed, and one of the places I stayed, or the place I stayed, was called Hotel Shankar. I think I've got the pronunciation sort of correct, and it was a tremendous, almost palatial, colonial style hotel, and very close to the Royal Palace and other parts, and not far from the city. So it was an amazing experience. I only went to Kathmandu, but one of the interesting things was that we met some people from the Nepal Law School, because my student had studied there, which was in the centre of Nepal. We also went out to a new law school. This is, 20 odd years ago, called the Kathmandu School of Law. It was on the outskirts of Kathmandu. You would know, I'm not sure whereabouts it was, but today I'm sure it's a much bigger operation. It was in those days very small. But why I refer to those two things is some of the people teaching at the university invited us to come out to their house during the stay to have dinner. And no, I didn't go anywhere else in Kathmandu, but I did go to the suburbs. And I loved that experience of seeing the housing, how people lived, and we obviously drove through local streets. So in both cases, when I went to the Kathmandu School of Law, we went right through lots of the city, and when I went out to the suburb with the professor from the university, I really lucked out. I think there's a saying, or there's sort of knowledge when you go to Kathmandu, that if the clouds or the weather's not good, you can't take the scenic flight. And I was intending to take a flight, but both of the days that I had free, I couldn't go. So I would love to go back to Nepal, and probably as I'm getting older, I would probably have to be doing something like a scenic flight. But yes, the idea of going trekking and doing those things in Nepal sounds very exciting. Yes, look, I've had a lot to do with some of the Nepalese people coming here, including my student, Bimal Raut, who came to do his PhD. And, him and his family, lovely people and extremely hard workers. The people who I met in Nepal, they were very welcoming. And I really enjoyed the whole experience. I think for anyone going to Nepal, you will get to see people that are genuine and also welcoming and friendly. But most of all, it's the culture, the traditions of the Nepalese people that I enjoyed. And I love the food. So if there's anyone who wants to go to Nepal, food is beautiful. Well, I'm vegetarian. And I have been for a large part of my life. So much of your Nepalese cuisine just was open to me. Whereas in some other countries, including Australia, sometimes the menus can be more restricted for vegetarians. But I did have the good fortune to be taken out one night to a place called the Dwarika, a luxury hotel in the middle of Kathmandu. And someone told us that Bill Clinton had recently stayed there, the former president of the United States. And the food was absolutely exquisite. It was some of the best food I've ever tasted. And I have fond memories of Nepalese food. Yeah. What do I eat? I probably eat fairly basic food, but it was just so beautiful. Not really. We went to Nepal, and I know this is very sensitive, particularly to the Nepalese people. We went to Nepal at a time when there was some disruption in terms of tourists visiting there. They weren't forbidden to go there, but I think people were cautious. That was many years ago, and the situation's changed so much now. when we were there, we were treated so good. There was only a few tourists there, and we were some of those few tourists. So I had a wonderful time, and I couldn't complain about anything. If I went today, maybe there's a lot more tourists there than when I last went, but I don't think that would bother anybody. Such a beautiful country. Definitely. It's just such a wonderful experience to go to a country like Nepal, and I really missed out on seeing so much more of it. And people told me about going out to the country and also up to the mountains. So I think anybody going to do travel should think about going to Nepal. I mean, Nepal is, I think on this podcast I'll have to say Nepal's the number one country, but if you're travelling anywhere near the Sri Lanka, India, Maldives, anything like that, really think about going to Nepal because it's such a beautiful place. I haven't, but now talking to you about it, I know it must be an important thing for me to consider for the future. I know my children would love to go. They're adult children now. They would love to go and visit Nepal again, and I will follow up with some of the people that I met there. You know, I should mention, Kieran, and I've mentioned this to you before, that I met many lawyers there. One named Bishwa Manali, who I'm sure Nepalese people know well. He was so welcoming to us. He came to Australia not long after that, and I know he has very strong contacts with Australia, but such a nice person, and really showed us what the people of Nepal are really like. And particularly as lawyers, we were able to communicate about legal issues. And, that's the other thing that really struck me. When I went, I call it the main sort of legal street in Kathmandu. It wasn't downtown where all the tourist markets were in that, but I went to visit at the Nepal Law School and visited the Dean there, Dean Thapa. But then we also went down to the barristers' chambers or the lawyers' offices, and they were sitting outside in a courtyard, much as I'm sitting outside today in the sun, and they were just talking with each other, and we came along and they talked to us, and we all had a great conversation, and many relationships were built just through those conversations out the front in the courtyard of the barristers' chambers. I'm not sure we're as relaxed as that in Australia. Barristers do have common rooms and courtyards, but the way that the Nepalese lawyers were enjoying their outdoor setting was nice to see. Yeah. Oh, you got me there. If I knew any, I've certainly forgotten them. I'm just not. I should have learned a couple. If I had known you would ask me that, but truthfully, no. I found that Nepal's an interesting mix. There's some influences of British legals, not so much system, but processes, and some people will speak English and some didn't. And the communication, I was spoilt because I was with a Nepalese person, my PhD student Bimal, and basically, he helped the both of us, me and another lawyer who were there. So yeah, that's where I was. I probably cheated a bit. Didn't learn enough of the Nepalese language. My apologies. Yeah, it was. Look, no excuses. I should know more, and I should know more about the country and the language. Really, it was good just to experience it. Look, I think if Australians are listening to this, there's certainly great opportunity in building relationships with people in Nepal, and I know that in the education sector, particularly the university sector, there's been very deep engagement across all of our states and territories in Australia with Nepalese people, and I'm sure that's been rewarding for everyone involved. So I think we as Australians need to appreciate that there are some good ties with Nepal. If you travel there, I think you will be welcome. And for the Nepalese people listening, I think the country is very beautiful, and I think people will always want to travel. There's a plane coming over right now on its way to Brisbane Airport. One of the things that I found interesting, and no one's ever really explained it to me, is that when we went to a professor's house for dinner, his house and a number of the houses in that area, the kitchen was up on the roof, and I think it was even open. And this was in winter. It was not too cold. We must have had some fire or something. And I was very taken just with the architecture of the houses. You basically went into a house 1 or 2 levels and then up, there was an open deck on top. And I think Aussies would find that interesting because we usually have these like patios or decks down the bottom, like for a barbecue. And in Nepal, there was this rooftop living space, which is obviously there for a fundamental reason. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it was good. So yeah, I think there's so many things that you see and learn by just going to a different country. But Nepal, yeah, I always felt that it was it was a good place to visit, and I felt very welcome.
Experience the ancient healing of Ayurveda in Brisbane and the Gold Coast. At Vibrant Ayurveda Wellness Center, restore your natural balance and vitality. Holistic wellness starts here. Book now.